Hello children, welcome to our grade 11 science lesson today. Today we are going to discuss one of the very important part of your grade 11 unit 15 biosphere lesson. So as you all know, this unit 15 grade 11 biosphere lesson is very important to your oral paper because it's structured to say question number 1 you get from this chapter. So today we are going to discuss ill effects of environmental pollution. So there are ill effects of environmental pollution. Environmental pollution can be divided into three sections: air pollution, land pollution and water pollution. So there are ill effects of all three types. So let's see what are those ill effects. Actually there are two main types of ill effects. There are direct effects and indirect effects. So let's discuss first what are the direct effects of the environmental pollution. Right. So there you can see there are 7 direct ill effects of environmental pollution. Number 1, acid rain. Number 2, global warming. Number 3, ozone layer depletion. Number 4, photochemical smoke. Number 5, biomagnification. Number 6, eutrophication. Number 7, increase of radiation level. Number 1, acid rain. Okay, so what is known as acid rain? So acid rain is caused by acidic gases. So you have learned there are several types of acidic gases. Some of the acidic gases are weak. Some of the acidic gases are strong. So actually acid rain is caused by strong acidic gases. Example, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide. In addition to that, sulfur trioxide. Carbon dioxide also an acidic gas, but it is not strongly acidic. It is weakly acidic gas. So they are non-metallic oxides. So if you take natural rainwater, actually it's acidic. pH value is slightly below 7. It's around 5.6, the pH value of natural rainwater. That is due to the dissolving of carbon dioxide gas in the rainwater. But oxides of sulfur and oxides of nitrogen dissolved in the rain, acidity will increase further. Then pH value will decrease. If pH value decrease below 5.6, so we consider that as an acid rain. So these acidic gases can be oxides of nitrogen and sulfur, sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. Nitrogen oxides mainly nitrogen dioxide. So let's see how acid rain is caused by these acidic gases. You can see here emission of NO2 and SO2 gas. So they dissolve in the rain forming strong acids. There are two strong acids. If sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide dissolves in the rain, it produces strong acid sulfuric. And if nitrogen dioxide dissolve in rainwater, it can form strong acid nitric acid. Then the pH value of rainwater can decrease below 5.6. Then this acid rain, it can cause land pollution as well as water pollution. It begins with the air pollution, but it can lead to land pollution as well as water pollution. So let's see what are the harmful effects of acid rain. Number 1, destruction of the forest and the crops. So what happens when acid rain falls to the earth? Plant leaves can get burned due to the acidic water. So that will affect to the food production by photosynthesis due to the destruction of the plant leaves. Number 2, destruction of aquatic fauna and flora. Aquatic fauna means aquatic animals, aquatic flora, aquatic plants. So due to the acid rain, aquatic plants and animals can get destroyed. That reduces the biodiversity of aquatic environment. In addition to that, number 3, dissolving of limestone and other rocks. So acid rain can dissolve valuable mineral like limestone and the other rocks. Then these dissolved minerals get washed away from the land and collected in the water bodies. So it can lead to water pollution. It begins with air pollution, and then minerals in the soil get dissolved, and those minerals and heavy metals released to the aquatic environment and lead to water pollution. Number 4, destruction of the metallic constructions. So acid rain can dissolve the metallic construction. Example, railway line, vehicles, corrosion of vehicles increase, and metallic construction, flyover, bridges and other metallic construction get eroded. So it will be an economical loss, and we have to repaint them, we have to reconstruct them. That is an economical loss to a country. Number 4, metallic constructions. So example, metallic buildings, statues, ancient ruins can get dissolved. Number 5, effects of the absorption of minerals by plants. So absorption of essential minerals by plants get affected due to the dissolving of other unwanted metals, example heavy metals, can block the absorption of essential minerals. Number 6, some poisonous heavy metals become soluble and concentration of them increases in the reservoirs. So acid rain can dissolve some poisonous or toxic heavy metals, then they become soluble, and those toxic heavy metals are released to the aquatic environment, and through the aquatic environment they can return to the animals and even humans to the food chains and food webs. So those are the direct effects of acid rain, harmful effects. So let's move on. Number 2, second direct effect of environmental pollution, greenhouse effect. So let's see what is greenhouse effect. And you are familiar with global warming and greenhouse effect, but it's not the same. So actually greenhouse effect a useful process which helps to keep the temperature of the earth suitable for the living organisms. But enhanced greenhouse effect is known as global warming. So without greenhouse effect we cannot live in the earth would be a cold planet and temperature will be minus. Therefore you cannot label greenhouse effect as a harmful process, but the problem is enhanced greenhouse effect or increasing of the greenhouse effect can lead to global warming. So let's see how greenhouse effect is caused. Now most of the heat radiations reach in from the sun to the earth, reflected back by the earth. So these reflected heat rays absorbed by greenhouse gases and re-radiate them back to the earth, Then greenhouse gases can trap heat rays and re-radiate, then the temperature of the earth increases but to a favorable level. But enhanced greenhouse effect, if greenhouse gases increases, then this will increase temperature, go beyond the limit, that lead to global warming. So let's see what are these greenhouse gases. Actually you can see here polyatomic molecules. Number 1 you can see carbon dioxide, CO2, 3 atoms. Next one CH4, 5 atoms. Ozone, O3, there are 3 atoms. Water molecule, there are 3 atoms, 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. Nitrous oxide, N2O. So these are called polyatomic molecules. These polyatomic gases are considered as greenhouse gases. So these polyatomic gases are IR active. They can trap infrared rays and they can trap heat. So monoatomic gases, you can see monoatomic gases. So you have learned group 8 elements, noble gases, they are monoatomic. So these monoatomic gases are not considered as greenhouse gases. And there are diatomic gases, example O2 diatomic, N2 diatomic, H2 diatomic. They are non-polar homoatomic molecules. So they are IR inactive. They don't absorb heat rays. Therefore, in other words, we are in a big trouble because as you all know, nitrogen 78% in the atmosphere, oxygen 21% in the atmosphere. So they are not greenhouse gases. If they become greenhouse gases, temperature of the earth rapidly will increase. So therefore, monoatomic and diatomic gases are not greenhouse gases. Sometimes you can get questions like this. In the exam, you can get a question, which of the following is not a greenhouse gas? Then you can get 3 greenhouse gases and one of this. Then the answer will be either monoatomic or diatomic gas. Next one, let's see what are the sources of these greenhouse gases, from where they are released. So you can see in this picture, industrial effluents, the factories, carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas. So even in developed countries as well as in Sri Lanka, large quantity of coal burned in thermal power stations to generate electricity. So when burning coal, large quantity of CO2 gas is released to the atmosphere. In addition to that, combustion of fuels in transport, in vehicles, so that also release CO2 gas. In addition to that, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide also can be considered as polyatomic, but they can cause acid rain as well. In addition to that, methane. Methane is released from garbage dumping site due to the anaerobic activity of bacteria on decaying organic matter. In addition to that, chlorofluorocarbon, CFC, that is considered as greenhouse gas. Chlorofluorocarbon, chlorine, fluorofluorine, and CFC can cause both ozone layer depletion as well as greenhouse effect. In addition to that, carbon dioxide, so what are the main greenhouse gases? Carbon dioxide, CH4 methane, CFC and water vapor. Other polyatomic gases also can contribute to global warming. Those are the 4 main greenhouse gases. Number 1 CO2, number 2 CH4, number 3 CFC and number 4 water vapor. So these are the main sources of greenhouse gases. So if we know the sources of greenhouse gases, we can minimize the emission of these greenhouse gases to control global warming. So let's see what are the harmful effects of global warming. So you can see here, due to the increasing of the temperature of the earth, glaciers, ice caps, polar ice cap can melt. This will increase the sea level. Water level in the sea can increase, then low-lying islands can get submerged. It can cause floods. In addition to that, this sea water can enter into river, and the salinity of river water can increase due to the mixing of sea water with fresh water. In addition to that, the surface of the sea water, the temperature can increase. Then the wind patterns, it can cause world climatic and weather patterns can change. In addition to that, this global warming can cause desertification. That means the soil get dried, and that will affect the plant food production. So therefore, it begins with air pollution, but it can lead to land pollution and water pollution as well. So therefore, in the future, at this rate, if global warming increase, in the future some of these small islands can get completely submerged or can go underwater. So these are the main harmful effects of global warming: melting of ice, increasing of water level in the ocean, thermal expansion of seawater, and changing of world climatic and weather patterns. Next direct effect of environmental pollution: ozone layer depletion. Before the depletion of ozone layer, let's see what is the role of the ozone layer. What is the main function of the ozone layer? So ozone layer is made of O3 gas, ozone, and it is naturally formed in the upper atmosphere due to the breaking down of oxygen gas by ultraviolet rays. Then this atomic oxygen combine with O2 and form ozone gas. So therefore, O3 is not a man-made gas. In the upper atmosphere, it is naturally formed by the reactions. So this O3 and O2, there is a natural balance in the upper atmosphere. So O2 become O3 and O3 become O2, there is a natural balance. But due to man-made gases such as CFC, chlorofluorocarbon, or halogenated hydrocarbon, so they are broken down in the upper atmosphere, releasing some radicals, chlorine radicals. They can react with ozone and deplete the ozone layer. So why do we need to protect ozone layer? What is the main role of the ozone layer? So ozone layer prevents the reaching of harmful UV rays of the sun to the earth. So UV also, there are 3 types: UVA, UVB, UVC. As you all know, grade 10 you have learned some types of UV. You don't need to remember all 3 types in detail, but some UV rays are useful to us. Example, synthesis of vitamin D in our skin. Therefore, UV rays are not, all the UV rays are not harmful. Some UV rays helps to synthesize vitamin D in our skin. But harmful UV rays are blocked by the or prevented by the ozone layer. So let's see what are the ozone depleting gases. So number 1, CFC. You can see here CFC, a group of chemicals, chlorofluorocarbon. So chlorine and fluorine you have learned under group 7 in your periodic table. So we call them halogens. So in other words, they are halogenated hydrocarbons. Chlorofluorocarbon, halogenated hydrocarbons. And number 2, second ozone depleting gas, nitric oxide. So from where they are released? If we know the sources of these 2 gases, we can minimize the emission of these 2 gases to the atmosphere. So you can see in this one, so aerosols, spray painters, hairspray, refrigerators, air conditioners are the main sources of CFC. So therefore nowadays, now we use ozone friendly, ozone safe gases instead of CFC. So some of the halogen atoms replaced by hydrogen. So these ozone friendly gases are called HCFC. So nitric oxide mainly emitted by vehicle emissions due to the combustion at high temperature. So what are the harmful effects of ozone layer depletion? So if harmful UV rays reach to the earth, it can cause cataract. So mostly these harmful, actually this naturally harmful UV rays are filtered by the ozone layer, and but we have melanin in our skin that also gives natural protection from the harmful UV rays. But the people with less melanin, fair people, they have higher risk of getting the skin cancers and the cataract. That's why they have to waste a lot of money for applying creams and for UV protecting sunglasses. So therefore the dark skin is healthy, it protects you from harmful UV rays. So you can see cataract, one harmful effect of ozone layer depletion. Number 2, you can see the skin cancers. So therefore the people with less melanin, they have higher risk of getting these cancers. Then that will affect to the food production by photosynthesis. It begins with air pollution, but at the end it can cause food crisis in the world. Food production by the plants will drop due to the damaging of these leaves by the harmful UV rays. In addition to that, this will reduce your immunity. Harmful UV rays can reduce your immunity. So the loss of the immunity of the people. So these are the main harmful effects of ozone layer depletion: cataract, mutations or skin cancers, and reduction of photosynthesis and loss of the immunity of the people. Let us see the next direct effect of environmental pollution: photochemical smog. This is introduced new to the syllabus in 2016. So you can see the photo means light. Due to the influence of light, there are chemical reactions taking place in the atmosphere. So there are two types of pollutants. Primary pollutants are the oxides of nitrogen and hydrocarbons. So they are emitted from the factories and vehicles, and these primary pollutants reacts in the presence of light, forming secondary pollutants. So those secondary pollutants, PAN, peroxyacetyl nitrate, PBN, peroxybenzyl nitrate, those secondary pollutants cause this photochemical smog. So you don't need to memorize these chemical names, secondary pollutants, but you should know what are the primary pollutants. Basically oxides of nitrogen and hydrocarbons are the major pollutants which cause photochemical smog. So what is smog? So it is a combination of the smoke and fog. So it is yellow colored mist form in the atmosphere due to the combination of smog and fog. We call it smog. So most of the industrial cities, we can observe this photochemical smog due to the increase in of the air pollution. So what are the adverse effects, or what are the harmful effects of photochemical smog? Number 1, respiratory tract disorders. Number 2, eye irritation. So you can see if you go to industrial city, sometimes you can feel the burning sensation of your eyes, eye irritation, and sometimes you can get headache due to the inhaling of these secondary pollutants and other toxic gases. So next one, toxic to plant. So these chemicals can affect the plant leaves and reduce the growth of the plant and food production. Therefore indirectly photochemical smog will affect the world food production, that can lead to food crisis in the world. Next one, reduces the visibility of the atmosphere. You can see there are two pictures. If you take a photograph in an area with photochemical smog, this photograph will not be clear due to these pollutants in the atmosphere. Next one, reduces the quality of rubber and fabrics. So these secondary pollutants will degrade the fabrics or the clothes, garments, as well as rubber products. So then they get degraded, you have to replace them soon, then it is an economical loss. Okay, next direct effect of environmental pollution, biomagnification. Let us see what is biomagnification. Biomagnification means collection of toxic chemical pollutants along the food chain from one trophic level to the other. So if you write a food chain, the first trophic level mostly plant, but if you take an aquatic environment, you can see the contaminant level given by this color in each organism. So you can see at the beginning there may be the prawns or the crabs. If in one prawn or crab, if there is 1 milligram of say toxic heavy metal mercury, then the small fish at the beginning consume 2 of those organisms, then it will become double in the next level. So if the next one, the sea lion, so if they consume 3 or more fish, what happened? Then the level increased by 3 times. So 1 milligram become 2 milligram, 2 milligram can become 6 milligram. So the last level, higher trophic level, there will be more pollutant or more toxic chemical. Therefore, in a food chain, organisms in the higher trophic level or top carnivores per unit mass higher level of toxic chemical. Therefore, when you eat meat items, you get more toxic chemicals to your body than, so you can see in the sea lion third link the contaminant level. So it's indicated by this blue color. So when it's come to the fourth link, lion or top carnivores like tigers, so they have higher level of contaminant level in the body. So therefore, top carnivores in a food chain contain higher concentration of these toxic pollutants. So at the beginning of the food chain, less concentration of these toxic pollutants. So organisms, that means top carnivores, the concentration of toxic pollutants will be higher than the herbivores. Let us see what are these bioaccumulating substances. All the substances are not bioaccumulating substances. You can see number 1, heavy metals. So what are heavy metals? So group 1 and group 2 metals are not heavy metals. Sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, they are not bioaccumulating metals. But copper, arsenic, mercury, Pb, lead, Cd, cadmium, these are bioaccumulating substances. Example, now we use electronic devices, e-waste, and use batteries. So after few years, you have to replace your mobile phone battery or laptop battery. These batteries contain heavy metals and the other chemicals. Sometimes we are used to dump them to the dustbin with kitchen waste. So what happens? So they collect these garbages with this battery and convert into compost. So this compost can contain heavy metals. Sometimes we don't think. So what you are releasing can return to your body again through the food chain. That means you are eating your battery at the end. Mercury, not the real battery, but mercury or cadmium present in those electronic waste, that will return to your body through this food chain and food webs due to the bioaccumulation. So basically in the country, the electronic devices increase in annually. So example, even in our country, number of mobile phones more than the population. So mobile phone battery you cannot use 10-20 years, maximum 3-4 years. So then you have to replace that battery. So that battery, the chemicals are released to the environment. So that's how it happens. Next one, PCB. So no need to remember the chemical formula of PCB, polychlorinated biphenyl, and DDT, dichloro diphenyl trichloroethane. So DDT was used in 1950s in Sri Lanka to combat malaria, to eradicate the disease malaria. But later they stopped using this because they found that this is a bioaccumulating substance. Next one, what are the characteristics of or the features of bioaccumulating substances? Number 1, do not degrade easily. So these chemicals are stable. So if the chemical is stable, it retains without degrading for a longer period. Then they are lipid soluble. So that can dissolve in fat in your body. Therefore, they are not expelled from your body through urine or sweat. In other words, through the excretory products, these toxic pollutants are not expelled. Therefore, they retain in your body for a longer period and they are fat soluble or lipid soluble. And they can pass from one organism to the other. That means they can pass along the food chain from lower trophic level to the higher trophic level. That means they retain in the bodies of the organisms for a longer period and they become active as biomolecules. So inside the body, they don't remain inactive, they become active. They can undergo some reactions with the other important chemicals in your body and they retain in the body for a longer period. So these are the main features of bioaccumulating substances. Let's see what is the next effect of environmental pollution. Eutrophication. You can see in this picture, eutrophication caused by two major pollutants, that is nitrogen and phosphorus, but not the element. There are two forms of nitrogen and phosphorus, nitrate ion, we call it NO3 minus, and phosphate, PO4 3 minus. When the concentration of nitrate and phosphate level in a water body increases, growth of the green algae will increase. Then water in the reservoir become green in color. But algae you cannot label as harmful group of organisms, play a very important role in an aquatic environment. They are the main producers of the aquatic environment. More than 70% of the earth covered by water. So algae play a very important role by producing not only food, by releasing oxygen to the aquatic environment. But the problem is increasing of the growth of green algae beyond the limit, then it can lead to pollution. So let's see what happens when the algae growth increase. So algae can float, you can see algal bloom in this picture, they floats on the surface like a green carpet. Then what happens? Oxygen cannot dissolve in water. The amount of oxygen dissolved from the atmosphere reduce. Amounts of sunlight that enters into water also drop. So what happened? Dissolved oxygen level drop. Then what happened? It can cause death of the aquatic organisms due to the decreasing of the oxygen concentration in water. Then those dead bodies, including dead algae, you can see collected at the bottom of the reservoir. So the nutrients in the dead bodies of organisms. So the dead bodies of the organisms contain carbohydrate, protein, lipids. So those are the nutrients in the dead bodies of organism. That means nutrient level in the reservoir increases after the death of the organism. To decompose these dead bodies, microorganism population increase. To decompose the dead bodies, microorganism population increases. So the increase in demand of oxygen, it will further increase because microorganism also requires oxygen for the respiration. So we call it biological oxygen demand, BOD value. So due to eutrophication, oxygen level concentration in the reservoir decrease, nutrient level in the reservoir will increase, and oxygen demand by the organism will increase. We call it biological oxygen demand. So then what happens? Bacteria will decompose this dead organic matter by anaerobic activity. So this anaerobic decay can release some gases which can cause unpleasant odor to the atmosphere. Example, due to the anaerobic decay of this dead organic matter by bacteria, release hydrogen sulfide, H2S. It is the smell of rotten eggs. And ammonia, sulfur dioxide. So indirectly they again can contribute to the air pollution, unpleasant odor, and the loss of the beauty of the reservoir. And you cannot utilize this water for anything. Irrigation, drinking, and cleaning purposes, you cannot use this water. So initially you can observe the green coloration of water. So you can see here what are the two main pollutants which cause this eutrophication: nitrate and phosphate, NO3 minus and PO4 minus. So from where these pollutants are released to the aquatic environment? Example, fecal matter, agrochemicals, detergents. Most of the factories, industries associated with the aquatic environment. Example, around the Kalani river, there are so many factories, fabric, garment factories, and fizzy drinks, and those factories, they discharge chemicals and industrial effluents. So if you use excess agrochemicals, excess will get washed away and collected in the water body. So detergents contain phosphate. So when the concentration of phosphate and nitrate increases in a water body, algae growth can increase. So you can do this simple activity. You can collect sample of rainwater and fresh water, tap water, and keep for few weeks. You can check which water turns green first. So rainwater contain higher concentration of nitrate than fresh water. So therefore rainwater will turn green faster than fresh water. If you don't clean your aquarium, so water will turn green because of the algae growth. So some algae can release some toxic chemicals. So that will affect your kidney and liver also. So let's see what are the ill effects of eutrophication. So as I explained, you can see the list: loss of the transparency of water. That means sunlight cannot pass through water. Loss of the beauty of the reservoir. So instead of attracting the local and the other tourists, so it will repel the tourists. Number 3, death of the aquatic fauna and flora. That means death of the aquatic animals and plants, and it can cause bad smell. Reduction of the biodiversity. That means the number of species living in aquatic environment will decrease, and unpleasant odor, and unable to utilize water for cleaning, irrigation, or other activities. Let's see, so far we were talking about the direct effects of environmental pollution. Direct effects of environmental pollution. Now let's see what are the indirect effects of environmental pollution. So therefore direct effects can lead to indirect effects. So what are these indirect effects? Number 1, loss of the habitat of the organism. So loss of the habitat will be one of the major threat for the biodiversity loss. So the main reason for the biodiversity loss of their habitat. So one of the best example we can give, human-elephant conflict. So the natural environment is not available for them to live. So what happened, these wild animals, they can reach to the villages and they can damage the cultivation. Then there is a conflict between the humans and those animals. So therefore we have to protect the natural environment for them to live, otherwise they will come and attack the humans. Number 2, desertification. So formation of desert. So due to the global warming, due to the increase in of salinity of water and salinity of the soil, the land become unsuitable for the plant growth. So that can lead to desertification. So it can lead to food crisis also. Number 3, reduction of the plant yield. So what happens, due to the environmental pollution, food production will decrease by the plants. So therefore the harvest will drop. Number 3, degradation of natural and man-made constructions. Example, due to acid rain, the Taj Mahal and metallic construction can erode, and the natural environment also, the example, burning of plant leaves by acid rain. So therefore direct effect can lead to indirect effect. Next one, number 5, health issues. Garbage dumping site with the used bottles, plastic containers, so that can cause dengue, spread of dengue and other infectious diseases. Not only infectious, non-infectious diseases also can spread due to the improper disposal of these garbages. Number 6, reduction of biodiversity. So actually Sri Lanka can be considered as biodiversity hotspot. So per unit area there are large number of species living. Example, Singharaja forest. So what happened, due to this environmental pollution, the number of species living in a unit area will drop. So that is called reduction of biodiversity. Next one, introduction of invasive species. It can be invasive plant or animal. So that will be a threat for the native ones. And economical losses. So there will be an economical loss, because to rebuild this or to maintain this damaged or polluted environment, there will be a financial input, and we have to make more effort to maintain this environment again. So let us see the factors that affect the lifestyle of a person. Now you can see here the food that you consume, that will affect your lifestyle. So you can see in this picture fast junk food. So example, you can see here the caffeine drinks, cola drinks, and all these food contain junk fast food contain artificial flavoring agent, artificial coloring agents, artificial flavors, and people are busy, they are eating these junk food while they are working. So therefore their occupation, example, executive level job, they don't have time even to eat. So they eat this junk food while they are working. So then what happens, these food contain high amount of saturated fat. Saturated fat can increase the risk of getting cancer and heart attack. So therefore it can cause obesity. High amount of calorie in these food and cola drinks, and they don't have much physical exercise, and it can cause obesity, and they don't have leisure time, and their health also will directly affect their lifestyle. Next one, factors that affect the lifestyle of a human. Number 1, industrialization. So industrialization means, due to the technological revolution and industrial revolution, there are more industries to increase the demand of the services by humans and the other goods. Next one, urbanization. Urbanization means certain areas population density is high due to the occupation, due to the top hospitals and due to the top schools, therefore due to the availability of resources. So large amount of people accumulated into a unit area, into a certain area. So these densely populated urban areas, infectious diseases can spread fast. Example, COVID-19, corona. So if you take the number of positive people in these areas more than the rural areas, it is valid for the other countries in the world. So the infectious diseases can spread easily in these congested areas. So this is a result of urbanization. Next one, commercialized agriculture. So commercialized agriculture, they use lot of machines and other chemicals to increase the demand of food. So in the future sometimes people will, the less labor, because all these machines are used for the commercialized agriculture, large scale agriculture. So that is man-made environment. So this can lead to some harmful effects to the environment. Number 4, man-made irrigation system. Instead of depending on the natural rainwater, irrigation system man-made tanks, ponds, reservoirs. So that can sometimes lead to floods, and improper use of these irrigation system can affect to the lifestyle of a human. Next one, utilizing of material and energy abundantly. So when due to the industrialization, energy demand increase. So then number of coal power stations, nuclear power stations and thermal power stations increases. So more materials utilized and more energy utilized to supply the increasing demand of the goods and service by the people. Let us see what are the problems that arise due to the changing of the lifestyle of human. So you can see growth of non-contagious diseases. Sometimes we call them non-communicable diseases or non-infectious diseases. So all three give the same meaning: non-contagious diseases, non-communicable diseases or non-infectious diseases, or NCD. So what is the opposite of non-infectious? Infectious. Opposite of non-contagious? Contagious. So example, COVID-19, dengue, malaria, they are infectious diseases. That means diseases that are contracted from person to person are called infectious diseases. But most of the people dying in the world due to the non-infectious diseases. But at this time, due to COVID-19, more people die, but in general people die mostly from heart attack, cancer and other non-infectious diseases. Mortality rate higher than from infectious diseases. Let us see what are those non-communicable or non-infectious diseases. Number 1, chronic kidney failure. We call it CKD. So this is mostly seen in rural areas, agricultural areas. Example, Polonnaruwa, Anuradhapura, Kurunegala area. So most of the farmers are the victims of this chronic kidney disease. So what is chronic kidney disease? Gradual loss of kidney function, which is not reversible. So sometimes we are used to the unidentified kidney disease. So this is spreading gradually in agricultural areas because they use large amount of agrochemicals, chemical fertilizers instead of compost fertilizers. Therefore that is returned to their body, and those agrochemicals, toxic heavy metals, will directly affect their kidney and the functioning or the filtration process of kidney. So let us see what are the symptoms of this CKD or chronic kidney disease. Number 1, passing of protein with urine. So your urine should not contain any protein. Healthy person's urine should not contain any protein, because protein, you have learned under excretory system, protein cannot be passed through the nephron, through the glomerulus. So therefore protein should not be present in the urine of healthy person, but due to CKD protein can be present. So when they pass urine, the foam is forming due to the presence of urine. Number 2, little or no urine output. So the amount of urine pass decrease due to the filtration process get affected by CKD. Number 3, urinary urgency at night. That means frequently, the CKD patients frequently pass urine in the night. Number 4, pain in the back and swelling of feet, because in your blood urea, creatinine, uric acid and protein, other unwanted substances, so excretory products get accumulated in the body fluid. So it can cause swelling of some of the parts of the body, because kidney fail to filter blood. So these urea, uric acid, creatinine level in blood increase and they get accumulated in blood. So due to the severe stage, you have to purify your blood artificially using a machine. We call it dialysis. Next one, rashes on the palm and the sole. This is also a symptom of chronic kidney disease. So what are the reasons of CKD? What are the main reasons for chronic kidney disease? Number 1, come in contact with agrochemicals. So who mostly come in contact with these agrochemicals? Mostly the farmers, those who are involved in farming and cultivation. Number 2, drinking of hard water. So hard water means the water which contain higher concentration of calcium and magnesium ion, and those areas fluoride concentration in water also high. So therefore high fluoride concentration, high concentration of heavy metals can cause CKD. And next one, heavy metals. Heavy metals also will directly affect to CKD or chronic kidney disease. Number 4, dehydration. So those farmers are in mostly dry zone, so their body can get dehydrated when they work long hours under strong sunlight, and they don't drink sufficient amount of water, that can cause dehydration. Number 5, using of drugs without any control. So without the doctor's prescription, if someone is taking long time, prolonged period of time, painkillers, so it is really harmful to the kidney. And consumption of liquor and smoking. Consumption of liquor and smoking not only for the CKD, not only to your kidney, to your liver, to your lungs, and all the organs get affected by these two, consumption of liquor and smoking. Next one, measures that can be taken to avoid. How to prevent CKD? Number 1, minimizing the liquor consumption and smoking. Number 2, avoid using agrochemicals. So what is the substitute for agrochemical? Organic fertilizers. Number 3, preventing or controlling high blood pressure and diabetics. So diabetics and high blood pressure can directly affect your kidney, the functioning of the kidney. Therefore, if someone is having high blood pressure or diabetics, that should be controlled with the doctor's advice. Otherwise, due to high blood pressure or diabetics, your kidney will not function one day. Then you have to transplant your kidney, because we have 2 kidneys, we can live with 1 kidney, but that kidney also until 15% we can survive. If the kidney function decrease below 15, either we have to transplant the kidney or we have to undergo dialysis. So that is very expensive. Next one, 4th preventive measure, drinking 3 to 4 liters of clean water daily. So it's depend on the weight of the person and the age and the activity. So this can slightly change. So it should be clean water, pure water, not at once. So depend on your physical activity, depend on your age, depending on your weight, you have to drink sufficient amount of pure water daily. Number 5, refrain from improper use of painkillers. So that is also one reason for CKD. Number 6, minimizing the frequent urine infection. So urinary infection, urinary tract infection, we have to get immediately medication. Otherwise, through the urinary tract, the germs or the microorganisms or the bacteria, they can reach to your kidney and nephron and can cause damage. Next one, next non-communicable disease or non-infectious disease, diabetics. This is one of the most common disease in the world now. So large amount of diabetic pills are taken by these patients. So what is diabetics? Increasing of the blood glucose level above the normal value. So average blood glucose level of a healthy person 90 to 110 milligram. If blood glucose level increase above 120 milligram, it can cause high blood glucose level. That is called diabetics. But decreasing of blood glucose level also can be considered as diabetics, but most of the people suffering from high blood glucose level or high blood sugar. Next one, cancers. So after diabetics, that's most common. Annually number of cancer patients reported in Sri Lanka increasing. So recently they have built new cancer hospital in southern province. So why these cancers spread faster? What are the main reasons that can cause cancer? How to control this? So what is a cancer? Uncontrolled division of abnormal cell. So example, the normal cells of your lungs perform the functioning of the lungs. But if a cancer cell is formed in your lung, cancer cells are not going to perform the functions of your lungs. So when the large area of your lungs covered by these cancer cells, the lungs will not work properly. But at the beginning very difficult to detect those cancers. So when the patients get the symptoms, it's too late. So therefore, mostly they will die, because or else you have to transplant or remove the organs. So what are the main reasons for these cancers? One of the main reason, exposure to radiation. Example, nuclear power station, nuclear explosion. Those harmful radiations as well as nuclear waste can be released to the environment. So that can return to your body through the food chain and food webs, or you can get directly exposed to those radiation. So radiations can cause cancers. Even X-rays, gamma rays can damage the nucleus or the DNA of your body. It can lead to cancers. Next one, carcinogens, cancer causing substances. What are these cancer causing substances? I'll give one example. If you put food in a plastic container or with the lunch seat directly into the microwave and reheat, then cancerous chemicals are released to your food. Sometimes we wrap some oily food. To soak oil, we use newspapers. So the ink of those newspapers contain cancerous chemicals. So then ink get contaminated with your food. So therefore, example, in festival season, kaum, cookies, dodol, so we wrap in newspapers. So then ink will get soaked into this. After frying something, again to soak this oil into the paper, so we put into the newspaper, so the papers which contain ink. So that is really harmful to your body. Those also can contribute to the increasing of cancer patients and the other environmental pollutants as well. Next one, heart diseases. After diabetics and cancers, next non-infectious disease, heart disease or heart attack. So most of the people dying in the world, higher percentage after age 50, age 60, either they get stroke or heart attack. Even the people with infectious diseases, example COVID-19. So if they have weak organs, example, if their kidney, liver, heart weak, they will die first due to COVID-19. Therefore, if you don't have healthy organs in your body, then they cannot survive in the presence of these harmful viruses. Next one, pulmonary disease. So you are familiar with pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein. So what this pulmonary link with your lungs. So there are diseases associated with your lungs, example bronchitis, asthma, due to the breathing of polluted air which contain dust particles and germs or bacteria. So that can attack your lungs and you can get asthma. It's an allergic condition due to the dust particles. Most of the people working in asbestos factories and silicosis, there's a disease, silicon particles from electronic devices. So they can cause damages to your lungs as well as respiratory tract. Next one, wheezing. So blocking of the air passage by the mucus produced due to allergies in the trachea. You can see there are two in this diagram. The second picture, swelling of the trachea due to the mucus. Then air passage become narrow, less room to pass oxygen. So narrowing of the air passage of the trachea, then it can cause breathing difficulty. Then you have to take some inhalers which contain chemicals to expand this passage or the trachea and bronchioles. Next one, gastritis. This is one of the most common disease, but it's not a deadly disease. Most of the people, not only the adults or even the school children, suffering from gastritis. So what is gastritis? Inflammation and swelling of the inner lining of your stomach. So what is the acid present in your stomach? HCl, hydrochloric acid. It is strong acid inside your stomach. Due to the HCl, pH is around 1. Due to the increase in of the acidity of the stomach, it can cause gastritis. Why acidity increases in your stomach? One reason, mental stress. Some students, when the exam get close, due to the stress, they get gastritis. Sometimes not taking food on time and consumption of oily acidic food contain artificial flavoring agent, example MSG, monosodium glutamate, monosodium inositol. So they are artificial flavoring agent to enhance the taste. So gastritis, when there are wounds in the stomach, germs can enter through those wounds to your bloodstream. You can get infected from these germs. In addition to that, there can be ulcers and tumors in the large stage of gastritis. So therefore, it can lead to cancer even. So therefore, if we don't control gastritis, it can lead to severe conditions like tumors and ulcers in your stomach. Sometimes you might have done in grade 11 optic lesson the endoscopic test to observe these wounds in your stomach. So therefore, gastritis should be controlled. We can control that by changing our lifestyle. So taking food on time, drinking enough water, and avoid smoking and consumption of liquor. Those who are consuming liquor daily, they can get these ulcers in the stomach, and initially they get burning sensation of the chest. Sometimes the people think they are going to get a heart attack. So there's a slight difference between heart attack and this gastritis symptoms. Next one, cataract of the eyes. Sometimes in Sinhala we call it ahesuda. So due to the exposure to harmful UV rays, you can get cataract. That's why we should not directly look at the sun. That's why we should not directly look at the solar eclipse, because these harmful UV rays released from the sun can damage the eye lens. Then eye lens become opaque, light rays cannot penetrate through this eye lens. So therefore, cataract also very common, because most of the people now in front of the screen, the smart devices emit harmful radiations as well as this blue violet light. It is harmful to our eyes. Therefore, due to the exposure to these radiations, they can get cataract, and then you have to do the surgery for the cataract, otherwise you cannot see anything. With this, we have come to the end of today's lesson. You can watch this again in NIE channel in YouTube and revise this lesson. So this is very, very important to your O-level exam, because you are getting compulsory question. Structure is a question number 1 from this chapter. It's not hard, no calculation, no balancing, no equations. Just to study, it is interesting, and you can get full marks if you really revise this lesson again. With this, I will wind up. Have a good day.